Michael, is this something that makes sense to you from what you've seen? Is there a fatigue that can set in when it's not quite rolled out properly?
Yeah, and part of what it comes down to is trust. And trust is built on what I refer to as tested expectations. Did you say we were going to do it? And did you do it? And so every time that you have a poorly designed pilot that doesn't go well, you're training your entire workforce to have a lower trust in you the next time around and to be skeptical. And there's actually a term for this called change fatigue. There's clinical research on this. In fact, there's some really good articles in Harvard Business Review, in the literature if you're interested. It's quite real. So every time a pilot's launched with all this enthusiasm and fanfare, and we're going to change the world, and then sort of quietly disappears, the clinicians sort of update in their head their priors, like, okay, the next one's probably not going to matter. I'll wait it out. And then you build up this resistance, even getting so it takes you longer to get out of the gate. And so you have to be really, really thoughtful about that. And in fact, I did a little of my own research. And so there's actually a journal called the Journal of Organizational Change Management. And there was a study not too long ago where the researchers found that this concept of change fatigue predicted increased strain and stress, burnout, and then the one that was most unsettling to me is intention to leave. And given the challenges with our workforce, we can't afford to lose a nurse, a therapist, an aide. And so there's a lot of consequence to doing this poorly. And so that's why I like to think about it as an experiment. Be thoughtful, move slower, get it right. The payoff is pretty significant, excuse me.
Oh, I'm just going to interject really quick, Liza. I love that you brought up the science of change fatigue. And it reminds me when I was getting my undergrad, Michael, so I have an undergrad in psychology and then a master's in counseling. And we did a depression risk scale. And some people had to score, I got married, I bought a first house, I landed my first job, it's my dream job, or I had my first kid. And then someone scored, I just lost my spouse, we foreclosed on our house. I lost my job, whatever it was. And ironically, both show up at the same risk for depression. And it's not because the change itself was positive or negative. There's only so much change that any of us psychologically can assimilate at any given time. So that change management burden, you're right, it has to be worth it and rewarded and successful. But there's also a very real fact that too much change at any given time, even if it is for the best of reasons, still puts people in a maxed out capacity in their psychological capital that can show up in that same workforce drag or potential intention to leave. So I love that you brought up the science, and I'm so impressed at your thoughtfulness and just how you think about really managing these experiments so thoroughly.
Well, I appreciate that. I think the reason I think about it a lot is I think you used the word personal capital. And every time, I don't think people appreciate the negative compounding effect of multiple poorly run pilots. Because as a clinician, I've got work to do. I trusted you, you didn't follow through, I'm done. And then the next one requires even more. So it doesn't mean you can't come out of that cycle, but that's a hole that continues to get deeper. My advice to folks is stop shoveling.